What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Coop, bringing you guys another episode of the Koopa Keep Podcast here, episode 3, man. And I had to bring one of my homies, a dear good colleague of mine, has his own show, a big podcast guy out here in Oklahoma, man. I really want to give this guy love, my man, Jeremy Evans, man. How you doing, bro? How are you doing?
I am doing wonderful. How are you, buddy?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm definitely good. I have to got to give you a round of applause, man. Because definitely you've been holding it down in the podcast realm. It's so inspiring, and I'm glad to just have you on the show today. We've been talking about this for a while now, a few months, a few years. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Because last time we talked, I brought you on for actually a personal interview to talk about what's going on in the community of the fighting game community from your point of view of it, and it was a wonderful getting to know you personally. I think that's the most I ever got to know you, because I think honestly, I don't think I've ever talked to you at FGC at like some of the tournaments and stuff. I just heard word of mouth, and then I just reached out to you, and then it sparked me to talk to you more when you had a bit of a message you put on the Facebook community a long time ago on Facebook. And I'm like, I want to hear this guy's story.
Yeah.
And my co-host Jerron, which too bad he couldn't be here. He's been very, very busy lately, so he couldn't be on here. But
shout out to Jerron, man. Shout out Jerron.
Yeah, but reaching out to you was really awesome to get to know you and learn a lot about you, because like it's really interesting to learn somebody until like you know everything about them, go by what they look like. Like he looks like I don't know if he plays other games. He looks like he's just a fighting game person. And then you jump to like anime, you like all this. You can definitely tell when the person's wearing. You can definitely tell a little bit more. Like I think I watched a little bit of your first episode with one of your members from the fighting game, and you were rocking the anime shirt. I'm like, he's a big anime person. He's like Gundam. I'm like, oh my god. But it's been great meeting you, and hopefully we'll definitely be working together more in the future. I can't.
Oh, most definitely, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm just telling everybody I'm kind of getting back on that high horse myself in terms of just putting out content and putting out these podcasts. So, I mean, it's just good to be back, just good to be in this realm, and just conversating, just kind of picking your brain and just picking anybody that really comes on the show's brain. And so I'm just happy to have you on this episode, man, and then bring you on my show and then like kind of give you your shine, man. So just moving into that, man. So just like kind of just if the for the people that don't know and that are listening in, just kind of explain, tell them who you are, and just kind of explain what you do in terms of your podcast and your show.
Okay, my name is Jeremy Evans, aka your retro activist, aka your in-game boss, aka once again, it's great to be on the show. Your showmanship guy, your retro Rolodex, your guy. I always love doing the AKA two things and then giving someone crazy at the end. That's just my fun thing. I've been podcasting since 2015, and I actually had a show before my in-game boss called the Gamer Stand Podcast. That was my very first jump up front of everything. I had a different host, different thing. I was part of a studio a while back, all that stuff. And then realized that all the money I was giving to that studio, I could have done for myself. So I decided to take matters in my own hands and did that. But then my old co-host at that time moved, and it was just getting more challenging for what it is. And I realized that not to throw him under the bridge, but I felt like I am the show. I can do this.
Right.
So I decided I needed to just change the whole thing. And I decided to just get rid of the Gamer Stand and to start brand new. Something fresh, a new thing. And I came up with the in-game boss program mainly because I realized that I love challenging people. I love challenging people questions. I like asking interesting questions to bring out their personality and just bring out more information about them and learn about them. So I always love asking people a lot of weird questions. Like all the time at my job, I always ask people like, based on your personality, what animal would you be? And I said I'm a capybara. And so, if people don't know what capybara, it looks like a large like hamster or something like that. Anyways, if you look up a capybara, they are friends with all kinds of animals. Like you see, hang out with alligator, ponies, cats, and stuff. It's weird. It's freaking weird. But I like hanging out with different groups of people. I like getting to know people in that way. And it's funny because I feel like I'm an introvert and an extrovert at the same time. Like I like hanging out with people, but I also like being by myself. So
a little bit of both.
Yeah. So, anyways, the in-game boss, that's what it came with it, because that's what the boss is supposed to do. Your mini bosses, your in-game boss, they're supposed to challenge you. When you go through a game, you're supposed to learn everything you can and to use all that information to defeat the last boss, right?
Yeah.
That's what the point of it all. And so my goal is to push you those challenge and better yourself and be more positive, learn your negatives and positives and all that stuff. So, and the program is more of my plethora of shows. Welcome to the program of learning how to not only challenge yourself, but not challenge yourself, but challenge myself in different topics and just in gaming in general. And not just gaming, just movies stuff. So my goal of my show is the In-Game Boss podcast is that topic, but then I want to do varieties of different other shows in my network. And it's basically just throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, see what works, what doesn't work. And it's been trial and error since 2015 to now, and it's still a trial and error. And right now, I feel like that I'm getting on to something now with the flow I've been doing lately, with all these kind of more short videos, because I think that we're living in a world that micro videos are carrying more than long videos.
For sure.
And I would like to go back to doing long videos, but I need to build that clientele, build up an audience so I can do that, because people apparently you're among the million people that are doing podcasts, so you have to do something to make yourself stand out from everybody. And I think that's always been my goal, is what do I do to stand out? And I don't want to be a show just about news. I wanted to be a show about, I want to be a gamer's gamer, kind of like a rapper. Like I want to be your favorite rapper. You know what I mean? Like, like for every like rapper, they like, oh, I like this rapper because he's more street. I want to be that podcast. Like, yeah, I'm a big show, but my favorite podcast show is maybe the In-Game Boss program. I don't know.
Yeah. That's me, bro. Like, like that's, I have like my show, the Koopa Keep podcast. But like, if someone were to ask me literally, like, what's your favorite podcast show? I would probably say your podcast is my favorite podcast, In-Game Boss, man. Just because, like, I feel like I was a part of it at one time, so like, it's like cool when you just like, you're a part of it and then you kind of just see the growth, you know what I mean? You get to see the episodes come out, you get to see the topics and the work that goes in, and I'm like, man, this guy, like every time he's talking about topics, he's just really bringing it. You could just tell he's really into the gaming realm. And like, I definitely, man, I for real, I salute you 100% on that. I think your podcast is underrated. If you guys haven't checked this guy out, you guys need to go do that. And I'm, like I said, man, I'm happy that you're just on the show. But moving from that, right, the In-Game Boss podcast, so like, talk to me about that. And like, I know you kind of dived into it a little bit, like, but what inspired it? What kind of inspired, like, the In-Game podcast? And then, in terms of that, like, what are you doing? And what's your end goal for, like, what's your in-game goal for the podcast and pursuing what you're doing now?
So the In-Game Boss podcast is really the main plate of, like I mentioned before, the challenging. And the goal is to really go in more to the gamer field and really talk about stuff that gamers don't really talk about too much. A lot of shows I watch, they really talk about what's going on in the highlight of the world. And I like to go a little bit deeper. Like I asked you off air of like, what do you think is your favorite game of all time?
Yeah.
I want to then talk about it. Or give me a list of your perfect 10s. What is your perfect 10? What is a 10 to you personally? Not so much reviews. What are the limitations of reviews? What's your thoughts on reviews in general? Other things I would probably ask is like what studio would you like to work for if you were in the gaming business? Something like go down the rabbit hole of us gamers, because sometimes gamers like us like to yell out stuff, like yell at the clouds and stuff, but we don't really get to challenge ourselves about it. And I kind of wanted to start doing that for me, like hey, this game is terrible. I can make a better game like that. Can you?
Yeah.
Can you make a better game? And the answer is no. So like I can understand it. And that's such a young mind mentality when you're little. I can make a better game than that. And you're like, no, it's a lot of work. And I never want to be in the gaming industry and make a video game. I just don't. Unless like I'm doing writing or I do a voice acting thing for it. But to be on the computer, I completely understand how much work people do just to make a tree. But those are kind of topics. And I met Jerron through the Retro Game Society and a community group. And he just shined out from the rest of the herd. And I just reached out to him. I say, hey, do you want to do a podcast with me? I'm looking for someone that will, be challenged or challenge me as I want to challenge them. And, he came in and he came in hard, and I like being pushed. I like being pushed back. And one of the things I have to learn about myself is it's okay to be wrong. And it's okay to go back and fix the things that you say, But as long as you admit that you made that mistake, right? I make mistakes all the time. And most of the time on my shows, I could be 100% wrong. You know, that's mostly what I say. If you listen to my show, I'll say, hey, I could be 100% wrong here. But, you know, but I think that's my platform to really challenge me, challenge the audience, you know, challenge Duran, challenge anybody to even leave a comment down below. And I want to help kind of address that and really just see what people really come out of the works for that. And not only that, but I like doing crazy topics. I love being creative. So one of the segments I do is like Baby Come Back, where we talk about a game that never been around for a while. Why do we want it to come back? Like we did Castlevania lately. We talk about Castlevania needs to come back in some shape or form. We do another segment where we talk about what are we selling, what are we buying, of what studios we find out they're going to buy, and how much do we think they're worth paying for. Because you know, for the last couple of years, the big names like Bethesda and Blizzard have been bought. So we're talking about like how much is Ubisoft going to be worth for us? How much Platinum is going to be for us? You know, and it's just sitting there talking about what do we think they are worth, and just having that giant like debate of doing that. And I think when you were on the show, the interview, that's what I try to do for you. I try to ask you challenging questions, not so much that like outsmart you or anything. It's more of like I want to see why I like throwing people off the curb. No one asked me that before. I love that look.
Look. And that's how I felt like just coming on your show. I definitely felt like you kind of like for real maybe pushed me and like had me just like digging in my cabinet of old like, you know, video games that I was playing back in the day. Like, damn, what did I like? You know, what was I feeling? You know, what was I playing during this time, and what made me want to play this game, and why did I make this transition to this genre versus, you know, this? So definitely, man, I definitely felt that vibe when I was on your show in terms of that, and you do such a great job of it, man, like for real. And it's just literally because I just feel like you're a gamer, you know, like you know, it's like almost like somebody that just knows their craft, you know what you're talking about, you know, and I think that has a lot to do with that, and that goes hand in hand, and that helps like the challenge aspect of it for sure. So just talking about challenges, right? You know, I mean, obviously you just talked about, you know, you that's the thing. Like you like to challenge people, you know, you like to bring people on the show and like challenge their thought and like your own. So what are the challenges that you kind of face, like creating your podcast, you know, things that you're kind of like running into wise, like maybe like, you know, like creating content or like topics or anything like that, you know, it could be whatever.
I think the challenge of doing the topic or doing ideas for the show is finding the right co-host and the longevity of it, right? I with my main show, the In-Game Boss podcast, I really like that to be my longevity show, and I like the rest of my shows to be limited because sometimes you just don't have enough source to continue forever. So I try to do a game plan like, okay, here's my idea. How far can I go with this? And then let's do that many, and then talk about can we do more? If we can't, we stop here and go. One example is from one of my archives. It's called the Gaming Holder Rivalries, where we talk about two characters in the gaming history and talk about the rivalry in the gaming world and who do we lean on, like Mario versus Sonic, Zelda versus Princess Peach, Bowser versus Robotnik, Lara Croft versus Nathan Drake. So, you know, we talk about those kind of topics and talk about their history and talk about what we want to see in the future for those characters. And we only got to 10 episodes, but that's what we wanted. We wanted like, how many rivals can we talk about from that point to this point? So we're like, let's do 10 episodes. If we want to do more later down the road, we can, if we have enough source for it. But I think that I don't like doing shows forever in that aspect, especially multiple shows. I like very limitations of like, let's just see where this goes. Because, you know, we all have our lives and we can't do this forever. So I was like, let's have fun for this moment. And then if it does well and people like it, then let's continue on. Or if we like what we're doing here, let's do another show with us again and a different one, you know? And that's where I want to do for my show, because my goal of my program too was almost every day or every week to always have something new from some source from my library. You know, not just the In-Game Bots, but from like my World Gaming Trade Show that I do with my boy Brandon from all the way from Indiana, where we talk about games that we haven't heard about and what developers do we think should do it and what is our vision for that. To even in-game stuff like my buddy up game I do with Jerome, we just play some games and just talk. To my movie podcast I do with Num when we talk about movies. And there's other ideas I want to do, but it also takes time to figure out how do you want to do that, because I'm still, even though I've been in this game for a while. I'm still new to it, and I'm always learning every day about something. But I have so many other ideas outside of just this network that I'm doing. Like I mentioned before, I'm working on a voice acting project. Is you just have to learn to balance your time for that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, man, and for sure. I mean, like that's just the thing in everything, right? Balance, and I feel like that's kind of like for me and like what I'm going through right now, just everything that I have kind of going. Like my lady, she told me the other day, like like you need a schedule, and I didn't really think about that right at the time. I was just like, like I'm just me. I just like when I kind of feed off the energy, right? When the
Mhm.
energy's there, I'm just like go 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 until you can't go anymore, right? But then like you learn real quick, you kind of burn out when you do that, like it's real easy to burn out. So just kind of having a schedule and like distinguishing like, okay, this is the time where I need to be doing like my content or whatever I'm going to do, and then like this is the time where I need to be like with my family, like this is that
Mhm.
time. That was really hard for me, and I didn't really get that until like my lady just kind of told me that, like, well, I just feel like I'm not so much like she didn't feel supported, but it was just like, this is taking a lot of our time, so I just really like I had to like, man, just like you got to get on a schedule. You got to you got to really just learn how to balance things, and that's really what it just is like I think hard is the balance, the
Yeah,
balance of it.
especially when you're I'm pretty sure you're a very goal-oriented person.
Yeah.
So goal-oriented person, we as goal-oriented person people have to really structure better for us
Yeah.
because like you said, it can all jump around. Sometimes you'll get confused about certain schedules or who you're supposed to be working with or whatever you, especially where you're not just doing podcasts, you're doing stuff that's probably more time consuming than what you're doing now or
Yeah.
whatever other stuff you're going to have. So you have, yeah, scheduling is very important now. Now, I'm terrible at scheduling myself. My mom buys me a planner every year.
And you just don't use it. You just don't use
I
it.
know, and I need to be better at that. But it's the thought that counts. It's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people where like I'm one of those people where I have to haunt myself to be motivated. And I know that sounds weird. It's more of like I have to put something in front of me, or I have to have something that's always around me to always remind me is always there. So like
Yeah.
when I'm doing my writing, I always have to have notebooks around me. So I can always remember that, okay, I gotta write in this. Even at work, I have a notebook in front of me, like, you gotta write in that. You gotta write in that today. Or you put something in the living room. Some if you put it up, you'll forget about it. So
Hmm.
I like to motivate myself in a lot of stuff. And this is what it comes with podcasting and any project. You have to put the motivation in. You have to really push yourself. So you got to put stuff to push you. And I think my mom would give me a planner because like, I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna write it. I promise.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And it's challenging, it's and then like I'm like learning that as well. Like if you're not used to just having a schedule, like really just trying to sit down and schedule things and plan things, it's hard. It's hard when when you don't do anything and you don't have that repetition. I don't have that muscle memory of just, okay, I'm gonna put this in my planner. I'm gonna put this on my schedule. I'm just literally like, okay, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, what was that date again? Okay, today. All right, let's just do it. That's probably like my downfall for sure, man. But like, the creativity and all that's there. I mean, that's the easy part to me, like
Mhm.
I think to us, it's just very easy to be creative. It's just the hard part of just getting it organized and getting it out, meeting deadlines. That's something I struggle with for sure. Um,
So, quick question. I know you
yeah,
asked me, but
yeah.
I guess I never asked. I think I don't even think I don't know if I asked you on when you had the interview, but like, what is what is the style of Koopa Keep to you? Like, what is that style that you're trying to do for your show?
I think for me, like I just kind of like to come on here and just like talk to people, like what motivates you, like talk about the journey, talk about the process, how you got here, how you got into this realm. Usually like a lot of people come on this show and that's just where I'm in, like, introduce yourself, like tell me about you, tell me if I just met you on the street and like, you're like telling me your backstory or like what you're into, how you got into what you love to do, like tell me about that, and then just like to kind of just, and from there, I just like to build the base, you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
what inspires you, what pushes you, what makes you tick, and that's really like just my show, just kind of giving people their own platform, and just like telling your story because somebody may relate to your story. Somebody may, hey, like, I'm interested in what he has, or I'm interested onto how he got there, or possibly, like just things like that, so that's kind of
That's
where.
what I notice about you. I think you really like setting a platform for the little people. I guess
Yeah.
that's where you really like to. you like to see people that really want to reach their goal, and you like to help in some shape or form. And I think this shows it probably the example of that. Like, I want to bring people on, get to know them, but I want them to have a voice. And I feel like that's something you've been spreading even before this through the FGC,
For sure.
or even
For sure.
whatever other things that you're doing. So,
yeah. And it's always like that, like I'll always just like kind of do something. And like, I don't think even when I got into commentary, I think about it, right? Like, I didn't think anything of it. I had just been doing commentary for other games before I really got into the FGC. But one day it was like a good friend of mine, my man Raybone, shout out to him. He just kind of sent me a message one day. It was like, dude, you should like commentate. You did a really good job. Like you're really good at that. And I just, kind of like, well, damn, well, maybe I have something for that. So I kind of dived into it, and then like, boom, it kind of took off from there. And, the same way he gave me that inspiration is the same way I try to just give everybody else. Like, if you want to be that guy that plays, and is the Tekken guy, or the guy that's the podcast guy, or the content creator, like you can do anything you put your mind to, man. And I just try to tell people, like, never aim low, man. Just aim high and like keep going. And that's just what kind of I feel like this show embodies. Like I kind of just try to give people that, man. And I hope I'm doing a good job, man. I hope everybody likes the show, but
so far so good.
Yeah. All right, man. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
It's definitely a big change when you hit the 100.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, because like I don't even know what episode I'm on. Can I do in seasons?
Yeah.
So like I'm on season 5 right now. So like
so it's just like
I don't know. I don't know what number I'm on. I'm hopefully I'm up past 100. But even in my old show, I made 100, and I think 100 is a big accomplishment, because that's like almost a year, maybe less than a year. Maybe more in a year of just committing to that. 100 episodes is tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. Anytime you can drop off. Anytime.
Bro, I got to give you your flowers for that 100 too, man. Let me get some claps right there, man. I got to 100 episodes. That's crazy, man. Like, God, I hope that like, with this podcast that I'm like doing now, I could get to that 100 episode. I know like when I was first starting, and now I just kind of like, that's how I am. Like, I'll just do it in seasons, like maybe I might not get 100. Maybe I'll just do 5, but like starting here from this season, 100, that's my goal to myself, man. 100 episodes. That's crazy. But like just talking about that though, right? I mean, like 100 episodes, that's a lot in terms of that, right? So when you're doing these 100 episodes, and we just talk about like just being creative, right, and innovative, how do you continue that? How do you continue to be creative and innovative when like you've accomplished everything that you set out to do? So you do 100 episodes and you're just like, I accomplished that. So like you're moving on to the next 100. Like what keeps you in that zone?
Couple things. One, a good co-host, the person that's going to be motivated with you. If he's sticking with you to the very end, that's awesome. Sometimes anything could happen. Your co-host can get your co-host is human too. He can get burned out, or he doesn't want to do anymore. And so you got to go solo or find a new co-host. Whatever happens. Second is kind of just staying with the gaming news, what's going on, and what can you use that as a fun topic for you personally. Either you want to talk about the news, or you want to take something that is in that subject and talk about it in there. And then your life experience. We're all gamers. We all have different experience when we play games. You might play a game and like, why is this happening? Yada yada. And you're like, there's a topic. Why don't you come on the show and talk about why certain games don't have pause buttons? Why certain games are becoming way too hard? Why does everybody want an easy mode in something? Like I think you have to go by your life experience and then put that on there. I think people can connect more, because there's going to be someone out there that probably will connect to you in some shape or form.
Yeah.
In that aspect. And so I think that's where my motivation goes. Because I play now, I'm not gonna lie, my gaming has slowed down, because I think once you start doing stuff outside of video game, your play time gets smaller.
It narrows.
It is humongous. It is humongous, my back catalog. But I still game. But I think the games that you play will help you come up with the creative idea like that. Or, maybe talking to a community. I don't really talk to communities that much. I need to start working that more. But that's even a topic of its own, of the toxicity, or just too many opinions that some people just want to voice just the voice, or some people actually have some logic things. It's sometimes really tough to be the person going left when everybody's going right, because when you go left, that's when you mostly you can be a victim or an enemy or whatever it is. But sometimes I kind of enjoy that, because at least it gets me saying I'm not a follower. I'm more like, this this is me. I'm trying to be true to myself, and this is what I see. And then later on, everybody will float maybe to you, and then there become followers. Like, well, you were hating on me before, and then now you're agreeing with me. And that's another topic I like to talk about. One of the topics we talk about all the time in our show, and I really need to push this topic about. I want to call it the 5%, and it's the people that complain the most, but they're the one but no matter what, they're still going to get the game.
Yeah.
Those complainers.
Literally.
Some people are victims of it. Everybody's in that 5%. I don't care who you are. Okay, like we mentioned for The Last of Us Part 1. You're complaining about it, but are you going to get it? Prove to me you're not going to get it. Don't get the game. But if you're getting it and you're still complaining about it, then I don't know what to say about that situation or about you.
Yeah.
Unless you admit it, you're like, yeah, I'll still get it, but I'm not gonna like it. But I would like to talk about fan base of, what is to be like a Nintendo fan, what is to be a Microsoft fan of Sony. I want to talk about the old rivalry wars. The Nintendo and Sega fans or PlayStation fan, like the gruesome competitiveness back in the day. I don't care what anybody. I love that shit back in the day, man. I know it was bad. But I loved it. I loved it in the schoolyard. I'm like, Sega for life, son. Like, Streets of Rage and Sonic over here. Mario got nothing. It's like, and I love the PlayStation. I love the people that want to defend the console that they love so much and try to put it out there like, oh, okay, but you got Mario 64, well, you ain't got this and this and this. And you ain't got this and this. And they're like,
it's literally like Xbox and PlayStation. Your controllers take batteries, ours don't. Is that?
It's fun if it's fun, but not like, where this generation is more like, if you get pissed, I'm like, I'm gonna hunt you down. I'm like, no, man. We should all be friends at the end of the day. We just want to brag because sometimes people got the wrong console. Like, damn, I want a Nintendo, but I got a Sega, but I gotta act like I like that Sega. Yeah, Sega, Rob, what's up? And so I always miss the war, and I do want to talk about kind of like the old battles of being a gamer because, like I told you before off the air, it's great to be a gamer back in that time growing up, just to see the transition of every.
It was just such a pure era, man. Like just coming and then like we were talking about off show, man. Like I just feel like we're pretty young, right? But like in gamer years, we're pretty old. I mean, you got to just see the development, from the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, PlayStation 1, Sega Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, Xbox, like it just literally like the timeline. If you just go down the line, I'm like, that was all in our era. And I'm like, I tell all the time, I'm so thankful for just to grow up in the era and the year that I was born, to grow up in that era and then like just experience the 2000s up until now. Like very fortunate because a lot of these kids, like, I think about my nephew, he's like 4 right now, but he's like really into the Fortnite. That's just his thing, like Fortnite, Goku, like all the references that he knows about, like the stuff that we were watching, like Toonami. You were watching Dragon Ball Z for Toonami, okay? But for him, it's like his experience for Dragon Ball Z is like in Fortnite, because he just sees the Goku skins and he's like, I like Fortnite, so now I like Goku, like. But he doesn't get the backstory, like how we got it back then, But like I can appreciate that he's just into that realm and like Fortnite. I never thought about it like that and that, and like the Fortnite realm of like, man, they're having an impact on kids like that to where like they're putting these characters in games and that's where these kids are like getting that from, like they may not watch Dragon Ball Z, but they know Goku from Fortnite. That's how they know him, and it may want them, it may just kind of pick their brain and like, let me go watch the show and because I like him in the game. So it's a whole different era now, for sure. And we're old, bro. We're old in gaming years, bro. We're old.
Dude. The GameCube is 20 years old. These are now the new kids. That GameCube is that regular is their retro console to us, to our NES. So to understand where they're gonna be us as we are to 5. Like 5 right now is like, I'm not feeling where the games are going right now. For them, it might be PlayStation 25. I don't know. But they're gonna say, like, man, these games don't do it anymore. My PS26 don't even float anymore, man. It just doesn't stop me. It don't do nothing. It don't operate them. It's very interesting where that generation is, where we're at. But I wouldn't trade anything in the world, man.
Seriously, man.
I love that beginning of it.
It was sick. It was like, when you went to the Walmart and they had the games on display and the game case consoles and you were looking up at the screen, breaking your neck for like 30 minutes, man, playing a game that you like might purchase right then and there, like these kids will never get that. They're just not going to get the demo disc that you got in the mail. You'll never get that anymore, man.
Right.
You know, like it was a different vibe. It was so different back then. And I really miss it, man. I truly do. And you don't really know what you have until it's just gone. It's definitely one of those things in the gaming realm, man. Like, God, like now it's just free to play, and like we just charge you for everything that you want, you know. Like, what do you think about that? What do you think about that too? The free to play aspect in games, man. Like, is that something you think is like cool, or do you think it's like different, or do you?
I'm not a big free to play person. First of all, I understand it completely, but I'm not a big. Okay, so first of all, I'm not an ongoing gamer. I'm not a game of service person. The only reason why this is the old school mentality. I like playing a game and completing a game and moving on.
Yeah.
I can't keep going and investing more money on an ongoing thing. I get sick of it very quickly, and then I'm wasting money on that. And so the free to play is just more of you just keep going and going, and you're just investing more money until you kind of get sick of it, but there's no end to it. I like stuff to end. And then if I miss it, I want to go back and play it again from front to back. I can't keep going and going with all this, especially like eventually those servers are going to go down or the game is going to stop, and the game's not really a complete game to me per se. It's just a kind of like it's just there. And so I mean there's money, but it's saturated now because a lot of people want to get in there. And like I told you before, even from like just everybody trying to just do something, there's a less successful people but more failures.
Yes.
So there's a lot more failures in free to play for that. But I feel like that a lot of games are trying to do that instead of just like, no, do you let them do them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you don't change a franchise to cater to that. You know, no one wants to see like for example,
essentially a sellout. You're just selling out. You're selling out for like your crap.
Yeah, I guess for example, like you could say Halo. I don't think it was the best idea to make Halo free to play. I get it what they were trying to do with it, but to me, it was better as Infinite should have been a separate thing and still make our core Halo. And I think people want that. People are like, no, stick what you know. If you want to do an extra on the side, go ahead. That's fine. But don't make this a main entry to where we're going forward. And I think Infinite made that big mistake because they were really pushing the free to play instead of the campaign that, you know, that is strive for. And so, like I said, like franchise should stick what they know and not cater to what the new generation wants. Because at the end of the day, Devin, people don't know what the hell they want.
Exactly.
They don't know what they want until they get their hands on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, this is the greatest game ever, you know, and whatnot. And I could be one of those people too. I could be one of those people that look at the game and like, I don't like the way they're doing it. And then you play like, I get it now.
Yeah.
I have faith in this publisher. And I think that's where I'm at as a gamer in this generation is. And I tell a lot of people this. I said, know your publishers. Because if you don't like a game that they're doing, then you need to be aware of who's making it so you can stay away from it.
Yeah. Yeah. And like that's a big thing. I feel like in the fighting game community, I feel like that's kind of going on and it's not really talked about, right? Like to me personally, right? I just think it's kind of like it's in fighting games. I feel like that's their version of like the cash grab, right? They'll give you this game that they come out with. Excuse me. They'll come out with, you know, in the initial price tag, $59.99 for the brand new game. And then they start giving this game out in seasons. Okay, season 1, we're going to do this. Season 2, we're going to do this. Season 3, we're going to do this. Season 4. So then, you know, you're 4 seasons in and you're spending $39.49 per season. It's like, yeah, you thought you were buying a game for that initial $59 price tag, but like you end up spending $100, $200 in a game in the long run because like if you're competitive or whatever the case may be, you know, you're going to have to buy those patches or those season passes to keep up with the play style, to keep up with the characters. And it's just like it's almost like a cash grab in like fighting games. Right. But like the scene is just so like, they don't care. They're gonna throw money at it, even though it's literally like the prime example I talk about for Tekken, right? A lot of the DLC that came out for Tekken, the Infinite Azure 2, you know, the purple stage, that was a mod before Tekken had even put it in the game. So they gave it to the community for free as a mod, and then like Tekken just said, you know what, we like that mod, we're gonna make our version of it, and then we're gonna charge you for it. So then like people like it was already free, and then like literally the next season pass came out. We're gonna give you some new characters. We'll give you this stage, but like you got to buy it now. And it's like, you know, we're gonna give you Armor King. We're gonna give you Julia. We're gonna give you characters. I feel like it should already just be in the game. You know, like it just give me. But I understand it. I get it. You know, I get the process of it. But I just like I think, you know, like, gamers, they don't care. They just don't care. Like I don't, maybe I'm too passionate about it, right? But that's just starting to a thing. You're just starting to see in the fighting game realm. I mean, you've been seeing it, but it's just, you know, what it's not talked about. Nobody's talking about that.
The problem is with fighting games, for example, for that, because what made me really upset about it, and like I said, I like fighting game. My favorite fighting game is Guilty Gear. That's my favorite series. But yeah. I'm not a very good fighter, but I love it. I think honestly, I watched the EVO 2022. I love the crowd in there. The hype is so good. Like FTC's hype is awesome.
Unmatched.
And I wish we can get the E3 back to that. Like I love hearing the reaction. I love people get hyped when they hear a game come out. Like oh, you know, it's awesome. It gets me hyped with it. But what made me upset is when fighting games have your iconic characters taken away.
Bro.
It gets like Street Fighter is a prime example like that. It's like I'm buying Blanca, really?
Exactly.
The guy that said at the beginning, I'm paying for him,
bro. Literally, that's how I felt. Like just talking about Guilty Gear. That's how I felt about biking. I liked biking, right? And I just felt like when the game was coming out, I was like, that's what I'm gonna play. But like when the game dropped, I'm like, she's not in it. So now it's like, okay, a few months later, like, okay, we're coming out with biking. Like, so now I gotta buy this. Now I gotta buy the DLC if I want to play biking. Now I gotta pay the initial game, and now I gotta pay for the DLC on top. It's just ridiculous, man. I'm just like, does nobody see that? Like, you can have a main character, and your main character could just essentially get screwed over because it may be DLC. So you're gonna have to play the game and enjoy it with somebody else, and not be able to play who you want to enjoy it with. And you're on the waiting list. It's not fair. I don't think it's right. But like, who am I?
And that's the problem, right? Like the fan base of any kind of culture, those kind of games, are the ones that complain the loudest, but they're allowing it to happen because the whole logic of vote with your wallet is becoming BS because no one wants to go by that rule because they love a game so much that they're willing to bite the bullet of those games that they like. Like your favorite game is Street Fighter. There's no other game to compete with Street Fighter probably in your thoughts. So you're like, I'll deal with it. And that could be the same thing with the fighters. That could be the same thing with Tekken. That could be with whatever it is. So you buy into it and you hope that it gets better as it goes. But then you realize, like you said, you're almost paying 2 copies of a game that now you're enjoying it, but then you're just waiting for the next one to come. And that's tough for me with sports games in general. Like I can't buy a sports game every year because there's nothing new about it. And
it's just a roster update. Roster update. That's all. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. They don't change anything about it. It's just a roster update. The same mechanics, same new features. But like they lie and say it's new features, but these are features that have already been in the game. You know, they're just bringing it back. Like
I'd rather pay a large sum of the game and then everything is free afterwards, right? Like if Street Fighter, if they said that. If they want to hide the iconic characters, they say, hey, look, for $80, you get this game and you get all the maps and all the characters unlocked through that season pass. I'm down for it. I mean, it's the best. It's better than nickeling diamonds on the way there that they can charge these characters 10, 6, whatever bucks they did. Kind of like what they do with Smash Brothers. I mean, they got 1,000 Smash Brother characters, but they're all, you know.
They're just nickel and diming you on the way, you know, on the way to that.
Let me pay a big sum. Let me pay a big sum and just give it all to me. And that's what they try to do with the season pass and all that. But that season pass doesn't always make a promise either because they want to add more stuff and then charge for that. Here's the season pass. Oh, we're going to do another season pass. Or, hey, we got some new guns and stuff, but it's not part of the season pass. But you want it, you're going to buy it.
Yeah.
And so I think they tried to give them that FOMO, a fear of missing out if they don't get it. But exactly, I think it's BS. I try not to go into that. That's why I don't really buy a lot of DLC because at the end of the day, guess what happens? Come get the Game of the Year edition with everything on it. So I'm like, but at the same time, there's a difficult thing because you need first responders to buy the game for us to get that game. So I want to do a shout out to thank every first responder that spend that extra money to get me to get the greatest hits or the Game of the Year edition, so I get everything. I want to thank all those first responders. Without y'all, it happens. And that's real talk. I'm not trying to make fun of them. Someone has to buy them.
Somebody's got to take the L. Somebody's got to take the body, man. Like, who's gonna?
Someone got to be the Sega. Someone got to be the Sega, so everybody else can learn from Sega, and they walk over them when they do it. Yeah.
100%, man. 100%, man. And yeah, I mean, like that. I mean, we just got a little bit off, but like, I mean, that's great. You know, great conversation and things like that. I mean, we could talk about that probably for days, right? Like, you know, that's a whole nother episode in itself. In terms of that, you know, and that episode is gonna come, you know, like in the future with me and you, because like for sure, like I like having you on the show and just talking to you, because I feel like we definitely relate to that. You know, I can talk and you understand it, you know, but trying to talk to somebody that's just like a diehard, like, nah, man, this is gonna be the best. Like, no, man, they're just like, they don't care about you, they care about your money. Like, and if you really want the change, in my eyes, if you really want the change that you want to see, if everybody just stops buying the game, then it'll force these developers to change it, you know, like, but it's just never gonna happen, because again, like the FOMO, you don't want to miss out. You don't want to miss out on the next game, or the next Street Fighter, the next Tekken. I digress, man, but look, man, moving back to what we were talking about, you know, you know what I mean? And like your podcast, and just kind of talking about you know, and like, obviously, like we get on this and we talk about these subjects and everything. Like, what is your favorite thing about running a podcast, man? Like, you know, is it just like this conversation that me and you had just now, or like what, kind of expand on that a little bit?
Oh man, my favorite thing about the conversation, doing a podcast, is the conversation. It's me trying to get you to open up and just talk, and me using that energy to push it more. When I have a guest on my show, my goal is to make them shine. You see me all the time. You're going to see this guy only one time, probably, maybe more if you end up liking him, or if you have time to go back again. My goal is to make that person shine. So when I even do my shows, I like to get to know that person and put them on something that is easy for them to connect. I don't want to throw you in something like, if you're not a sports person, I'm not going to throw on a show about sports. That's just suicide. I like to throw you in something that you can relate to and connect with that. And one of the things is, you know, the conversation, getting to know you, and then doing that. That's probably my favorite thing, is the banter, definitely back and forth. My least favorite, I think a lot of people probably would say, is the editing. But editing is very important, and you definitely have to learn for it. Sometimes it's some fun stuff, sometimes it's some bad stuff. I prefer editing short videos than long videos. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I really enjoy just that conversation, and just going at it. And I think the most difficult thing about podcasting me is time. Trying to work on, like, okay, how long do we want to talk for? Okay, we got it. And like your schedule, like you're talking about scheduling, like, okay, we're going to talk about this, and then in 30 minutes, we're going to talk about this, and this.
Just staying on topic.
It never happens. It never happens. For me. And before you know, it's 2 hours. And you're like, crap. And it's like, we got sidetracked or whatever. So one of the things is, I have to cut and move on, even though it hurts. It is like, hey, I love that. Gotta move on. We got to get to the big topic.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Especially like when it's like juicy, you know, like how that just was, you know, like when it's just like you can feel the vibe when you're talking to somebody, like you really want them, you know, you don't want them to overshoot, but you want them to expand on like what they're talking about, you know, and it's interesting, and it's like, man, like I wish I could talk about it more. I totally get that, bro. Like but you're trying to like stay on that schedule, like, man, like, okay, like
one of the toughest parts, I will say, is when you get a guy going and he doesn't know how to stop, and you're trying to get, and you're like, all right. You're trying to get a segue going. He's like, yeah, man, I got it. So, okay, all right. What else is on your mind? Go ahead. I feel you. Yeah. Those are very interesting. It's like, dang, I didn't know I opened up that much, man. He's talking about his childhood now. It's like, ooh, we're going a little dark here.
yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, I mean, so like, that's pretty much it. I mean, you know, like I'm the same way. I would say even like for me, you know what I mean? Like just running a podcast, man. You know, my favorite thing about running a podcast is just that, you know, like how you said, it's literally just like getting in here, trying to just get somebody to open up, get somebody to talk about themselves, get them to just really expand on what they want to talk about, and just really hitting those time. Like me, just like I'm like a time type guy, right? So like I'm trying to shoot this, like if I can hit everything in an hour, I'm cool. You know, that's it. Like I don't want to have a podcast where I'm like going on for 2 hours, and then like somebody's like pulling up my videos in like 2 hours. Like I don't even know this guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what about 2 hours? That's a long time, you know? So For sure, man. So like just moving off of that and bouncing off of your favorite thing about running the podcast, and you've been doing this for a while. What is your like your proudest moment, like in terms of your journey so far, like something that you kind of just look back on and reflect and like, like, man, like I'm really proud of that success that I had, or I'm really proud of, putting this together or whatever that may be. What is that for you?
Someone knows who I am. my personal goal is to walk out in public like, hey, you're such and such. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
You know who I am? Like, I think that's my most successful thing. Yeah, that's probably up there. I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't got that like, hey, you do such and such. I have to really push it out there like, hey, I'm such and such. Next time say something to me.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I think that would be successful for me, or just a lot more comments of people just saying, yeah, just being more noticeable,
just being acknowledged.
Yeah. And I think one of those is really trying to reach out to people. Like, I think one of the things I really wanted to reach for was the Oklahoma in general was to get to know people like you're more focused on giving everybody a platform. I am trying to get to know people in Oklahoma to get people to be noticeable, because there's not a lot of Oklahoma podcast shows that is in gaming that I wanted to really see what's out there, because I wanted to collaborate more with people. And when I saw your show a while back, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's another Oklahoma podcast show. I thought I was the only one out here, and that's when I reached out to the fighting game community. Someone told me to reach out for them. Some people told me to reach out to people that do art. When we did Arcade, where Arcade was a thing a while back. I don't know if you heard about that. It was an art show that happened like every year, and to get noticed from that, and also bring people on to be, recognized in their own way, but just to communicate more with our gamers in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And sometimes they have some challenges. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's not, because it's so weird that you don't get that much support in your own state, but you get. I remember on Podbean, and I don't know if you heard that type of Podbean. That's the place I would post all my my podcasts back in the day before I went to you. And they have a map, and they'll tell you what countries listen to you, what states listen to you, and Oklahoma was probably in the lower tens. I was getting people from New York and California and everything at that time, and I'm like, then I get people in Europe. I got people from Japan. I'm getting more hits from them than people in my own state. I was like, that's weird, man. But I mean, it is what it is, and so it's very interesting that Oklahoma in general, I want more people to recognize more each other in the gaming community, to know, word of mouth, who you are, who I am, who FGC is, who's Retro Game Society, just more noticeable of that. And maybe that's the next big challenge for me as the in-game boss, for me personally, is to challenge myself to kind of get more people to come on the show and be a guest and just have a good time. And I think that's one of the most success for me is, are we having a good time? If we're not having a good time, then that makes that kind of saddens me a little bit. I want to be coming here laughing. I want to be having fun, just shooting the breeze. If you're not having fun, then you need to do something about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I totally agree. And it's hard, it's hard to, even in my experience, like I have just like the little bit of, I guess, recognition just in the FGC, right? And I don't even like saying that. I really don't. And everybody that's in it is just telling me like, no, Coop, like you for sure, you're like you're a guy out here. We consider you like an OG. And I'm like, that's just like, I'm like, there's no way. There's guys that's been out here way longer than me. And I'm always the guy that just try to give somebody else their flowers. Like, nah, he was here way before me. I just decided to just do this because nobody else was doing it. And it's hard to just get support, man. It really is. It's hard to just get, that's my biggest thing is like, just to get people to listen, because I feel like if you don't have a platform, if you don't have a big following on social media, if you don't have, like connects, it's just like people are like, well, who are you? Why do I even care? But that's how I look at your show. You somebody that like could maybe be out there, right, and just drop a few episodes here and there, and then like they feel like they don't have to work as hard because they're there, as to somebody that like isn't there but has way more work ethic, has willing to work way harder, putting out way more content, putting out way more, you know. And that's just like, that's how I felt in the podcast, you know. And like, it's not bad for you to make me feel that way, but that's how I felt, you know. Like that, like I'm doing my podcast, but like I'm getting a little bit of buzz, but I'm like, no, this is the guy, you know, really to do you're the guy for the podcast realm, you know. Like I'm learning from you, you know. Like you may not have realized that, but that I was soaking up a lot of game. Like, man, this guy's he's been here. And it was crazy, you know, even when I was in that realm and like you reached out to me when you first reached out, like, hey, Coop, like, you know, I have this show, like I want you on it. And me, in my mind, you know, just imagine me coming up. I'm like, what the fuck? Like people are listening to this show, you know, like, you know, like, yeah. It was like kind of like a milestone for me. Like, damn, like I felt proud though, you know, like, well, damn, like, you know, somebody's getting it. And it made me feel good, you know, that you just recognized that I was trying to do this. And like, we understand that the realm that we're in, there's not a lot of just support. So I definitely, man, like it's very a big thing to try to support. And I think that definitely goes like, it's underrated. It's super underrated. And it's very important.
Yeah. Because the fact that you're not following the trend. I don't want my show to be like other shows in my
exactly.
mindset, right? I don't want to be just like, hey, everybody's talking about this, so I want to talk about it with them.
Exactly.
You know, I want to be able to talk about some of that stuff, but I also want to take what if my buddy Nam, he's very knowledgeable. He's the one that challenges me a lot. He's my big challenger. He hits me blunt. I'm a person that has to take stuff blunt. Like, you got to be better, or hey, you got to do this. So
yeah.
So he's the one telling me, he's like, what are you doing to make yourself stand out from other shows? Like that should be your goal. And that's everybody's goals. Like, what are you doing to make yourself stand out? And yeah, I'm not getting the biggest support, but at the end of the day, I want to be that show. Like, I'm not like anybody else.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, you have a product ultimately, you know, like if it gets to that point, you have a catalog to show somebody like, here, this is my podcast. I don't even have that right now. You know, like if somebody asked me right now, like, yo, show me like Koopa Keep Podcast. I can show them maybe 1 or 2 episodes, like, right. But you have a whole catalog literally of just like your work, you know, and like that just speaks volume to me in itself. I'm like, that just tells you, like, I would rather, it's almost like, you know, like the guy that's known, and I always use this comparison, like the guy that's known versus the guy that's not known. I'd rather have the guy that's not known over the guy that's known, because I know the guy that's not is going to he's already working, you know what I mean? And he's not there yet. So I just know when he gets it, he's going to work even harder, you know, to keep it. Whereas the guy that's there, it's like, well, he's there. You're going to get a little bit complacent. I just feel like once you get to that point of success and you taste it and you're there, it's really hard to just like keep going, because some people just like, this is the peak, and then they kind of just fizzle out, you know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, it's all about your work ethic. And I definitely think you have that, man, for sure.
Thank you.
And I can't give you enough flowers enough, man, you know, literally, like, it's just great. So just like moving from that, man, you know, and talking about the podcast realm, and you kind of talked about it a little bit, you know what I mean? But like, what advice would you give to somebody like that's trying to get into this realm of like creating content and creating a show and creating episodes and doing what they, and talk about what they want to, you know, what they love to do? What advice would you give them in terms of like just staying consistent and trying to just keep this up?
That's my number one right there. Consistent and keep going.
Okay.
I don't care whatever idea you have. It's commitment. You got to commit, and you have to be ready to be prepared to hit the lows and be ready for the highs. Mainly more of your lows. You have to be mentally prepared for you're not going to get a lot of views. You have to be mentally prepared that you might not really get noticed. You have to be mentally prepared that you're going to have to work on marketing, which marketing is probably one of the most important things. A lot of people don't think it is, but marketing is very important. People can't notice you unless you put your name out there. I'm still terrible at marketing. Yeah, I have to get better at it. And so that's one of my biggest challenges for this year is to market more and see what works and doesn't work. On the creative front, you have to do something. I think people, let me see how to put it. Go what you know. What do you like? Focus on that. If you like video games, think about what kind of games you want to talk about. Do you want to talk about only first-person shooters? Do you want to talk about only like your RPGs? You know, do you want to talk about only this and that? That's the same thing with any kind of topic. Like, you got to figure out what is your main purpose and what do you enjoy talking about. Don't go do something that you don't know because everybody else is doing it. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel like you got to do you, because then it doesn't come off genuine. So like, go with you, because me is video games and movies. So that's what I am going for right now. And I'm very knowledgeable about it. I love reading about it. I love learning from people. I'm one of those people where like I don't want to ever lose a conversation with somebody, so I make sure I know a lot about video games. So when someone talks about a game, I'm like, yeah, at least I've heard of it. Might not played it, but at least I know of it. So my advice for anybody, number one, is whatever you pick, commit to it, because it's a long road, especially if you're working for a studio where you're paying every month to keep doing with the show, especially if you're going to have somebody do it to you, which to me, if you could do it on your own, I say do it on your own, save yourself some money. Especially like if you want to just do video content, I mean, YouTube is right there for you. It's a free platform, so you got whatever you want there. Try to save as much money you can, I guess that's what I try to learn. Don't spend too much money. Don't worry about getting like the best equipment or anything like that. I think just go enough to get by, and then you'll get better.
Just putting your ideas out, just being able to just put your ideas out.
Yeah, and then you'll get better as you go, and then maybe you want to get better equipment later on. But do enough just to get by. I know people that just do stuff off their phones. Fine, do you? I don't care. As long I can hear you. That's better than nothing, right? But yeah. I think a lot of people jump off because they start something, they don't like it, and they jump off because either it's not making money for them, or they feel it's a waste of time, or just something there, or they don't make time for it. They have other stuff. So try to make sure before you jump in and do it, because this is a long road. Everything's a long road when everybody wants to do it. Podcast is easy. That's why everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it. It's saturated. So you have to do something to make yourself stand out from the rest of the herd, and market, word of mouth. Let people know who you are. Those are the simple things more than what epic thing I want to do. And I think I learned this from Maximilian, dude. I think this is something very important. He says in his opinion, make every show like a showcase, like it's an event. So I think I take that mentality of each episode. I try to make it like it's an event, make it as a showcase, making sure like everybody's having fun and everything like that. As a host, I think you have to show that showmanship. You're the one carrying this ship. They're only going to go off the vibe that you put the vibe out there, right? Exactly. So that's my advice. It's the little things that I focus on more than the big thing, because you can't get to the big thing until you take care of all the little things, which is consistent marketing and showmanship. I guess those are my three things. So.
Okay. And definitely very, very, very important. You're asking me like what I would say getting into this. Yeah, I just stay true to you. Like don't try to like you said, just get in somebody else's lane, man, and do something that doesn't feel comfortable. Like just try to be as comfortable as you can, and just know what your target audience is. Know who you're trying to get your podcast to. Know who like again, just knowing who you want this to listen to. What's your audience, and really just like, I mean, you pretty much touched everything that I was thinking. You know what I mean? Like seriously, know that this is a long road. It's in anything you want to do in life, it's always one foot in front of the other. There's no short success. There's no such thing as overnight success, because if it was, everybody would be successful. It's just not going to be that way. It's almost like streaming, right? When I kind of first started my streaming thing, it's like everybody wants to be a streamer, right? But there's going to be times where like you're in the stream and there's just like 0 to 1 person in the stream. But like, don't just like look at that number. I like, even when I stream, I don't even look at the viewer count, right? I just like literally I'm just thinking about like, if I was just to make content right now, if I'm just talking, like would somebody be in here watching my stream? And like I find for me just streaming, I get a lot of success of that. Like I just ran through the Metal Gear Solid 2 series, right? And picked up a lot of followers off of that game, just like from them, just like I'm just talking through the game, everything I'm doing. Like, yo, I could have probably did that better. I could have probably did this better. And you get people in your chat. Is this your first time playing? Like, and you die at a certain part. You're like, you're just like really feeling the game, and people just like enjoy that. People like the genuine you, So just try to be you. That's just the secret, the formula and the answer, I feel like, to it. Just be you, be genuine, right? and know that there's a lot of people on this earth. So, and don't get discouraged when people don't like your content. Kind of like how you said, like I didn't really get a lot of viewers in Oklahoma. Well, who cares, man? There's millions of people around the world. So like there's 10,000 people over here. Sure, them 10,000 people may have liked it. Let's go to that 10,000 people. Let's see if they like it. And that would just be my biggest advice, man. Just don't give up. Don't give up, and be confident in yourself. Be confident in yourself. Know that it's just going to be a journey, but like. There's going to be highs and there's going to be lows, and again,
and just make sure you're doing it. I did this as a passion. Always, I believe passion first before it's a job, because the chances are you might not make a lot of money out of this. So think of it as a passion. If you're having fun with it, that means your audience are going to have fun with you, and then they probably want to come back and see you every time, especially in the streaming service, because streaming is totally different than the podcast. Because a podcast, they can pause at any moment. The streaming, I mean, you're live, you're on stage, so do your best to put on a show and whatnot. And people look at people as like, oh man, you've been successful, but they don't know how long they've been in the game.
Exactly.
It's weird. It's like a lot of people probably know who Steve Bloom is. The people that don't know who Steve Bloom is, he's the guy that does the voice for Spike off Cowboy Bebop. And like, oh man, Steve Bloom's awesome. Like, but you should look what the.
How long he's been in the game? You know what I mean? Like literally,
he probably did Voice Man #1 and some short thing. Like, you'd be surprised of how long the road is. Especially it's harder now. I mean, easier now than compared back in the day. Especially like you didn't have internet. It was word of mouth. Shout out to rappers.
Hey, shout out to Steve Bloom too, man, because real talk, that's probably my favorite voice actor of all time. Like, it's funny you brought him up. That's literally my favorite voice actor of all time. And like, it was crazy as a kid. You just heard his voice. I would watch all these animes and I would just hear that same voice. And I'm like, man, I didn't even know who he was at the time. I'm like, that's Spike. That's all I would say. Like,
you never know this is the real person's name. You're Spike.
Like literally, like I would watch, Big O. I'd hear that voice. I'm like, man, that's that guy. Like where I hear Rurouni Kenshin, Shishio. I'm like, man, that's Steve Bloom. Like, but you didn't know, but you just really appreciated his work growing up. By the way, I hated Big O. I'm not gonna lie. Like that, Steve Bloom, I love you, man, but that was probably the worst show I've ever watched. All right, like I just got to say it.
That's a fair wish. I understand completely. Yeah,
I could not stand it. I just but moving on. But yeah, for sure. Who knows? Like, he probably might have been voice acting for years, and Bebop was just maybe something that like it caught wind, and like that just was his takeoff after that. Like that put him in the game, But like he had been doing that, we don't know, but yeah, for sure, man. Round of applause on that, man. That was definitely like some free game right there that you just gave out, man. Free game right there. But just moving on, man. All right, because I've been talking to you for about an hour now, and it's definitely a great podcast, man. This is a great episode. Always like my past few guests. I had some guys. My last episode, shout out to them, my man BG and a guy that Stampede. They were on the show with me a few days ago, and like we were just kind of talking to them. And they have. If you guys haven't, you guys can go check out that episode. It's going to premiere Sunday. So like at the time recording this is the 2nd. So the Sunday of September, whatever date that is. What is that? That is the 4th. It'll premiere on the 4th. For anybody listening. Yeah. So those guys, they just kind of talked about their come up in the Texas scene, opening their arcade bar and everything like that. That they're not the arcade bar, excuse me, just their dojo that they're gonna have for the FGC. They got on and talked about that. So I mean, shout out to those guys and whatnot. But this segment that I'm about to give you, here, I gave them the same segment. I gave everybody this segment. All right. And I'll just call it I'm gonna call it the final boss segment since you're on the show,
Okay.
Like the in-game boss. I'm gonna give you the final boss segment right here. Okay. And this is just like the kind of the fun part where you just kind of talk about, I just ask you some questions and you just take it however you want to go, in terms of the video game realm, man. All right. So the first question I'm just gonna go ahead and ask you, and like you might get caught up in this segment, bro, because it literally I body a few people in this segment where they're on just like they're scratching their head and they don't really know. I
would be disappointed if I don't complete this stage.
Okay, I got it, bro. I got it. Now I will say I guess that was my point. That I was bringing those two up. They did fine on this segment. They passed with flying colors. They were probably the first people on the show to pass with flying colors.
Congratulations,
big round. You know what I'm saying? To them. So the bar is up there, bro. You gotta go higher.
No pressure. Thank you.
No pressure, man. All right. So check this out, man. Boss battle. All right. Favorite. I would just say, I usually say fighting games because like a lot of the guests that I bring on, like they play fighting games. But for you,
Yeah.
I'll just say your favorite game character of all time, bro. What is that?
Favorite game character of all time? That is
All
a great
time.
question, man. I am going to throw people a loop. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to honestly say Bowser from
Bowser.
Super Mario Brothers. Yeah.
Okay. That's respectable though.
Yeah. I think he is the most iconic. Even back in the day, grew up with King Koopa. Didn't know he was Bowser. But no, I that's a great question. There's probably a ton of gaming characters out there. I think Bowser just stood out because Bowser's been around the most in my life, and Bowser is just a villain that he just never gave up. He was probably my inspiration for the in-game game boss because he was the boss that I always prepared. And if you play any Mario game, he's always trying to figure out something new to challenge you on. So I have to give respect for Bowser. He's probably my favorite gaming character as of right now.
Okay. That was a respectable answer too, man. You gave the backstory on the answer. All right, so the bar is already, you're already setting that joint.
That's what's up.
All right. Okay. So first question, man. We got that out the way. Here's the second one, though. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So check me out. We're on an island right now. You're on this island, man. And it's kind of like, like what is the movie with what you call it? Wilson, the volleyball,
Castaway.
straight
Castaway.
You're straight Castaway. You're straight Wilson on the island with in straight up, man. You're on this island. You can only have, and the last episode we were like, they're like, that's too hard. That's too hard. So I'm gonna make it a little bit easier for you. Okay. You can only have 3 OSTs on this island to listen to, man. What are those original soundtracks that you listen to? It doesn't have to be a fighting game. It can be any game of your choice. What are you bringing?
Okay. So let's go with is it okay if I kind of like rank them or whatever you want?
No, you can however in any order. Like it's not no greatest to least. You just like 3 of them. No particular order. Just 3 of them.
Okay. Gotta have a little diverse. So I'm gonna go some classic stuff. I'm gonna say for now my soundtrack of my favorite RPG game of all time. That is Skies of Arcadia on the Dreamcast.
Okay.
So, for people who don't know, it's a game that takes place in the sky, a bunch of sky pirates, and it's going on an adventure. That's my Final Fantasy VII. So for people that don't know, I want that game to come back in some shape or form. Sega, I'm looking at you. So that one. The next one I'm going to say is let's go with Sonic 3. That is one of my top favorite soundtracks. Hydros,
okay.
My favorite soundtrack from Sonic of all time. That track goes so hard. Love that. I love that. And then probably number 1 is Streets of Rage 2.
Okay. All three respectable. Respectable is I don't know what, man. Like that definitely. The first one, what is it? The Skies Arcadia. I don't know too much about that. Now I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know about that. So maybe I need to go just like maybe you can throw me some of them tracks and like I can just like okay, like sure. I see the vibe you're going at. But I love like just classic video game music and just music in general. So it's always nice to ask that question because there's OSTs I listen to and I'm like, man, like this was ahead of its time, man. This was funky, man. 20 years later, this is still funky. Like, damn.
Are you a fan of Sonic 3 and Streets of Rage 2 at all?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. And like more so me, like Sonic Adventure 2, because that was like one of the first games I had on Dreamcast, and I just remember that intro track, that that guitar, like for real, like that was it. Like, damn, like this is tight, man. Like, yeah. That's when they had like in-game trailers. Like they don't even do that anymore. Where like you go to the start screen and then like it'd be like press start. And then if you don't press start, then it just had like the game footage or like, like a video edit of just like the game and like incorporate it. Like they don't even do that anymore in games, bro. Like literally, like for sure. So I kind of got off.
Can I do honorable mention?
Honorable mention for sure.
Sorry. Actually, I honestly, I take back. I apologize. I think Skyscape is my honorable mention. That's number 4. Actually, number 2 would be Jet Set Radio.
Okay. You did say that earlier in the show.
Yeah,
you did say
Jet Set Radio's up there. I have to. Yeah, I have to. I love that game so much. I love that soundtrack. So yeah, it's Sonic 3, Streets of Rage 2, Jet Set Radio, and then Skies of Arcadia. Yeah, all Segas. Sega just killed it more than Nintendo when it came to the soundtrack.
Man, it was
Capcom and Konami, man.
Yeah,
those 3. Yeah. Okay.
All right, man. So you passed that one. All right. No, not too easy. Like easy. Like pull up. Ugh, got it. Out the way. Done.
Gotcha.
All right. So Next, I probably already know the answer to this, so we're just talking about, pound for pound, all time, we obviously went down the timeline of just the era we've been in this gaming, this gaming realm. So what is your favorite console of all time, man? And tell me why it was your favorite console of all time.
Yeah, it's funny because Switch is up there. Oh, it's up there as a contender, but it's not there yet. Not there yet. It's almost there. It's almost there. Switch is pretty damn good for a lot of stuff. It almost has that Super Nintendo kind of aura feel because we're getting a lot of classic RPG games and all that stuff coming in. My favorite console of all time, I have to say for now, I'm going to go with probably the GameCube.
GameCube?
I want to probably say the GameCube. I like the Nintendo. I like the Nintendo, Super Nintendo. GameCube was weird. Maybe that's why I like it. It's weird. And it took a lot of risk-taking ideas. Because Metroid Prime came out of there, which Metroid Prime is like that's like a 10 for me. It's my favorite Metroid in the whole series. Super Mario Sunshine, I know for better for worse, not a lot of people's favorite. Not my favorite. But it's okay. It's okay. Then you have Star Fox that took a different Rare. That Rare was coming in. Now Rare owned the Nintendo 64. Like it's almost a Rare 64 than Nintendo to me. Like there was more Rare than that thing. But you just had Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 was on the rise on that console. Beyond Good and Evil. There was a lot of games on there that were really good that I think a lot of people probably forgot that exists on that console. Yeah. And I was so into that console that I bought the bottom piece where you could play the Game Boy Advances on.
Yeah.
I bought that and everything. My Skies Arcadia is on that console. Phantasy Star Online. Everything that the Dreamcast was shutting down, it got split between Xbox and GameCube. They just got all split off, from the Jet Set to Crazy Taxi to Outrun to the Xbox, as you got the Jet Set Radio, Phantasy Star Online, which they added 4-player co-op to that thing. Waste so many times on that. That game is phenomenal on that console. To the point of you got the remake of Metal Gear Solid. People forget that the remake
Twin Snakes
was on there. People forgot about that. You even got so much of just some of the interesting games on there from the Prince of Persia. It's like from the whatever PS2 games come on there. Beautiful Joe, Killer 7, Mad World. Mad World's on Wii. I apologize for that. No, that was on the Wii. But all those other games, GameCube. I think a lot of people forget that there's a lot of great games that came on there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, I would have thought that you would have said the Dreamcast, just because like we just talked about that Dreamcast so heavy, man. So
it's in my top three. It's in my top three.
Top three.
Okay. I'll tell you why the Dreamcast didn't make the cut. The reason why the Dreamcast didn't make the cut is because it had a lot of great hits, but it had a lot of misses.
Yeah. I feel like it was more to me, like, I don't know, just the way I think about the Dreamcast is like, yeah, they had games that were trying their own thing, but it was more so, it was just like a console that was just pouring a lot of the arcade games in. That's what it felt like, like you just kind of had like the really like the arcade feel, it just brought that at home. And I mean, that's not to say that any of those arcade games weren't great, because there were, the House of the Dead, Zombie Revenge. I mean, like we could go on, but yeah, it was really hard. I mean, like back when I was playing it, like you really just played it for like those kind of those premier games, like the Madden and the NFL 2K. And if you weren't into sports games, then like it was, like it was just like more so arcadey, But
don't get it twisted though. That was the console that brought a lot of fighting into it. I mean, remember that was
100%, 100%.
Yeah, Mario Capcom 2 was the premier.
Power Stone. I mean, Power Stone. You had all, like, dude, like, seriously. I mean, you had like you had just bangers on that. I mean, there was even a golf game I used to play back then. It was from Bottom Up. They were a developer, Tee Off, and that was like a overseas import golf game. And I played this, dude. Me and my dad played this.
Was my jam,
dude. You're literally like I played the shit out of those games, and they were great games. And I just appreciate it because they took a risk. They definitely took a risk on that console, and it was literally like it was the only game at a console at its time where you had like the digital memory card and all that. I talked about that on with Guy on the last episode. Like they really were just changing the game, like four controller ports back then when like you had to like play other than the GameCube. When you wanted to play like on PlayStation 2 and you wanted to play 4 people, you had to buy like the adapter, to even play with 4 people. Yeah. So like they were like the first, so you could just buy 4 controllers and all 1, 2, 3, 4. Just quick 3 arena. Like I could go on, for days.
Yeah, and that's why the GameCube goes up a little more because some of those games on Dreamcast that I love got ported over to the GameCube.
Yeah,
and that's why I got the best of both worlds. I got my Nintendo, and I get to hold on to some of my classic games that I love on the Dreamcast on that console. So that's why like the GameCube really does a really great job. And you're right, like Dreamcast. See, Sega's always been that company that like they open the door for a lot of developers. They just get stepped on the way in.
Straight up.
That's just what it is. They were the first ones that really pushed the online capabilities. They were the first ones to do the memory cards. They were the first ones to introduce the triggers. To me personally, I thought that was the first. Now I know people could probably say the GameCube introduced the triggers, but I think for first-person shooters, Dreamcast owned that to me.
Yeah.
The relaxing on that. Yeah, no, they did. I lied. GameCube came after Dreamcast. I apologize. Yeah, Dreamcast is the one that introduced the triggers in the back. They introduced more of the graphical front of your online and the browsing in general. You got to diss that browse people. And sadly enough, it was the console where burnt CDs of those games were easily made to play on there. A lot of people were easily burned those CDs. I had a Dreamcast dealer at school that he had a binder full of copies of these games. So I had bootleg copies of all these games because
and you couldn't believe it. You couldn't even believe it when you see it. You're like, are you kidding me? Like you could just literally put that on a blank CD and like what? When I first heard about that, I was like, no way. And I like literally like I remember just like taking these games. I'm sorry, Sega. I remember just taking these games, burning them. Like, man, there's no fucking way this is gonna work. And then like, boom, you put it in. And it's like, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I was paying these guys. And like, literally, like, this was like, it was that easy. Like, damn. But for sure, man. I mean, rest in peace to Sega Dreamcast. Forever in my heart.
And that's one episode we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about in the future, what if a Dreamcast 2 did exist?
Yeah,
where would that go? Where would we be at?
That would be sick, man. All right, man. Yeah, you definitely passed that. I mean, like flying colors, man. You're 3 for 3 right now. All right, you can't miss, bro. You're straight up LeBron and my questions, man. All right, maybe I need to make them a little bit tougher, man. Maybe I need to come a little bit harder, go back to the drawing board because everybody's just knocking them down right now. Okay, but this last one, all right. I think this last one, I might catch you. Off guard with this last one. All right, you might want to brace yourself in your chair and get ready for this one. All right. What is your all-time video game moment? Any game, doesn't matter.
That's a
that's a hard one right there. That's tough. That's tough. That's tough right there because there's so many good ones, man. There's so many good ones.
There are. No, that's a good one. You stopped me on that one. That is a very, very, very tough question. Because I have to think. I'm split between my mindset of is it a new moment that happened to me, or am I going back? Like, it feels like I'm officially a gamer because of this moment. Oh man. Shoot. Now there you go. You got me. You got me.
That's spice on him right there, man. I did. I think that was the one right there, man.
Right. Let's have fun with it and say my favorite moment is Mega Man 3 when I beat Top Man for the first time. Mega Man is a hard game.
It is very hard.
As a kid, it beats you up, and your goal is just to try to make it to the end. And you have to fight a boss at the end. It almost has like the Dark Soul. It's like a Dark Souls style.
It's Dark Souls before it's Dark Souls.
Yeah. So and I remember my brother. I was jealous because my brother was so good at Mega Man, and I always looked at him and I'm like, how can you do this? And like, now don't get me wrong, I'm not flawless. That is hard for me to believe you can go through a Mega game without getting hit. Like that's NL no lifer written all over it, and I don't have time for that. But to accomplish that and learning how to beat your first boss in there is such a huge accomplishment because you work hard to get there with the energy that you have, and hopefully that any enemy you hit will pop you some more energy and you make it there. and the fact you have checkpoints, and the fact that you only have like 2 lives, and you hope you get another 1-up if you're willing to take a risk for one of those 1-ups.
Yeah.
But just the fact of being challenged through that, and I think one of the biggest challenges was towards the end of Top Man's level. And I don't know if you're aware of, if you can imagine Top Man, or anybody imagine Top Man's level in Mega Man 3, but there was a part towards the end where these spinners are going up and down, and you have to jump, and there's nothing but air. So if you fall, you fall. And you have to time it. And if you know about Mega Man, it's better you keep going, because the moment you stop, it's over for you. So
like
you got
Mario games, essentially Mario.
Yeah. So you just have to go. And when I made it there and beat that boss, it was a big accomplishment, because that's when your mind starts learning about patterns. Now, people's mindset is Mario. Mario could be the first game, but I think Mega Man was a little bit more difficult for you to push you on your patterns.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he's going to spin. You got to jump at the right time. Oh, he's going to do this move at you at the right time. Be sure to slide at that moment. Or learning that, okay, maybe I can't beat him. Maybe I got to do another boss and get that power and then come back and beat him again. But you're always going to have to beat the first boss with your pea shooter. And it just depends who you pick first. And it's trial and error. But when you beat that first one there, it's pretty damn glorious. It's pretty magnificent.
It sounds like it, man. It definitely sounds like it. It sounds
especially what you learn about gaming. I love when they make a celebration of you beating somebody. The moment you beat a Mega Man character and you're that do.
Yeah.
That's like I did it. I did it. That's the signal like I did it. He blew up in small pieces. I did it. Like, I think every boss you defeat in a video game should be a big epic moment, right? That's how you worked hard to get there. You want something to give you, and then you hear that tiny little music, and then you just beam up and go. So yeah, I'm gonna throw Mega Man up there as being Top Man for me, and Mega Man 3 is probably one of my greatest moments.
Okay. That's hey man, that's respectable, because I know how hard that game is. I had it as a kid. Listen, I would literally like lose on the first stage, and I'm like pulling it out of Nintendo, like, get this game out of here, man. Like, I'm not about to.
I don't blame you.
Dude, video games back then video games in general back then were just brutal to you. Okay, like people don't really realize, again, these younger kids, they don't really realize how brutal these games were. The Ninja Gaidens, the Mega Mans, okay, the Mike Tyson Punch Out, Contra. These games were brutal back then, and literally, it was.
They treat you like they're trying to make you put quarters in the console.
Yeah, yeah, man. I tell people like all the time, like, I don't know if you remember, just to like, just like, we'll say this and I'll say this and this will like kind of wrap the show up here. Just the dude, like, I don't know if you played this game either. The game on Super Nintendo, man, the Lion King game. Yo, back then, that game. Listen, man. To this day, I would pay somebody to beat this game in front of me. That game is that hard. There was no way somebody at 5 years old was beating this Lion King game. And if you go back and you just like, just YouTube it. Just go do your research. Just go YouTube this game, the Lion King game. Literally every comment. It was funny for me because I went back and I'm like watching people play through this game, but like I'm going through the comment section and everybody's just saying the same shit I was thinking. And how you read, like you have something in your head and you're like, I wonder if people are gonna. And you scroll down and you see it and you're like, damn, like everybody. Literally everybody in the comment section, I never got past the first level. So I was like, it wasn't just me. It just was not me.
No. And shame on them, and shame on us, because we were at the time of that generation of the Super Nintendo Sega where Nintendo had put a written rule of, if you make a game on our console, you cannot make it exactly on anybody else, which we had a lot of Disney games and other games separate. That's why you had 2 separate Castlevania games. That's why you had 2 separate Contra games. That's why you had 2 different Aladdin games. And Sega was the one that was always harder. So I played the game on Sega, and I'm like, Lion King is just hard on Sega. And then it's the same thing on Super Nintendo. I'm like, what the hell? I was like,
dude. It was pretty tough, pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there were levels I was just like looking at, and I'm like, I never even made it here. Like, I never beat this game, and maybe like I just should go back and try to replay some of these games. But I'm telling you, man, like it was. There was no way in my 5-year-old mind I was like getting past this. I look back now and I'm like, there's no way I was gonna beat that. There's no way. These designers, these developers were probably just like laughing as they were developing. It was like, these kids are gonna feel so bad, and they're gonna cry, and like that's our goal. We want these kids to cry when they play this game, and that's literally what I did. I just like I would get so frustrated with it.
My stage was I can't wait to be King stage. I think a lot of people felt that stage, the one where hopping all over the animals to get across.
Yeah.
A lot of people died in that area. I was one of those people. I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And
so I wonder. So I wonder, like you said, you played it on Sega, right? You played
Lion King on
The
Sega.
Lion King. Okay, so I imagine it was probably the same game. Like I don't know. Like, it sounds like it was. Was it? Is this the same? It was.
Yeah, it was the only Disney game that was both the same on Super Nintendo and Sega.
Okay.
It wasn't a different. I thought it was gonna be a different Lion King to Sega to Super Nintendo, like Aladdin, because in the Super Nintendo Aladdin, it was more of like an adventure. He was throwing apples. And in Sega, he had a freaking sword.
Yeah.
Sega one, he had a sword.
Okay. Yeah. So it was the same. So you feel the pain right now, and that's literally like that's what it was, like, and that's probably the stage you were talking about. That I can't wait to be king, like where you had the monkeys everywhere and they throw you, and you had to you had to growl at the monkeys, and they turn a certain way and throw somebody a different. Impossible. And as a 5, 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid, impossible. And I literally I should just give that game to my nephew and be like, have at it, good luck. I just know it's not gonna happen. I know it's not gonna happen, man.
And I started hating that song. Because you guys so much in that song. Yeah. I'm done. I don't like the song anymore. I'm done.
Yeah.
But I want to fast forward that part. Just can't. Screw you in the animation. Screw you, monkey. You made my life hell.
Yeah, dude. Literally, that game was, dude. Yeah, but all right, man. For sure, man. I want to go ahead and wrap this up. I know I've had you here for quite some time. I know you're a busy man. I don't want to keep you all day. I'm just glad that we were able to come on the show and talk. Just literally about you, man. And like your thing, and like for real, man. Like I wish you the best luck in the future, and like hopefully we can collab more and do this, because I had a great time doing this today. And just talking. Yeah, man, for sure. Like I and even like the last episode, it was the same way. It was just as fun. If not funner this time. And like I said, just looking at you doing your content, it's definitely inspired me to get back on the horse and just like keep going, like just I feel like I'm not alone out here in this space now. So, like I need you to hold me accountable. Like, Coop, where's your episodes, man? Like, keep it coming, man. Like, don't keep me in track, bro. Keep me in line. I think
I'll do that on my show. My challenge is to do a shout out to you on the show. Like, keep going.
Yeah, man. I appreciate
break that fourth wall for a second.
Yeah, I appreciate that, dude, for sure. And just like any last remarks, man, where people can follow you, social media. I have your social medias going, but like just for the viewers that are listening on Spotify or anything like that, where can people find you at, man?
So we're on YouTube. And In-Game Boss Program is a network of gaming and other variety shows. So all of our shows are on there. You can enjoy some of our great shows, like the In-Game Boss Podcast, the World Gaming Trade Show, and my Buddy Up Gaming, and my When Jeremy Met Nama do a movie discussion. We do a lot of shows on there. I'm always trying to just do something new. So I'm trying to work on some new ideas. I have a RPG show that I was doing and rebooting it. I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about, Brian Foster. He is my co-host for that show.
Okay.
And so we go way back. Like, you're talking about hardship in video games. He was through the hardship with.
He was there with you. He was there.
Yeah. On some of those, he has some war stories of his own. But anyways, he's doing a show with me. We're doing a variety of shows of that. And leave a comment. I want to hear comments that would just help me get used to listening to comments, hear what people say. But also, too, we're on Facebook. You just have to type in the In-Game Boss Program. We're right there. And then on Twitter, we're at In-Game Boss Program on there. You can type in @program in, and we're there. If you want to find me personally, I am RetroAmp07. And to find Jerron, he is the Grumpy Bear 84, I believe. You'll find him through me. It's fine. Or the description of the video.
Yeah, I'll have links too for everybody. So
yeah. And so, but yeah, like I said, come listen. Be challenged, challenge me. Let's have some fun. Be entertained. I think that's the goal of it all. At the end of the day, is we're just here to be entertained and just have fun with it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
my man. Round of applause. I gotta give some reaction. Round of applause for you, man. For sure, man.
And it was a pleasure and honor to be on your show. Thank you so much for making the time. Not a lot of people reach out to have people being on a guest on the show. I haven't been a guest on the show for a while, so it's great to be on a platform where you just kind of talk. Sometimes it's good to be away from your own show, right?
Yeah.
Hey, let me relax for a minute. Yeah.
And for sure, likewise, man. If you ever have anything you want me on, like, it'd be nice to get away from the Koopa Keep podcast and just to come on the In-Game Boss, man, and just do my thing there. That's cool, man. I think we need more of that for sure.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, we'll definitely, like we talked off the air. Hopefully, we'll do a project together soon. So
yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, all right, guys. I don't want to hold my viewers up or anybody else like that. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, man. Episode 3 here at Koopa Keep Podcast. It's been an honor again, man. My boy Jeremy, I wish you the best of luck. Let's
Thank
keep
you.
this thing going for everybody out here, man. And until the next episode, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. You guys take it easy. You guys stay healthy. Stay blessed. Just continue to do what you're doing, whether it's a podcast, whether it's you're working hard towards that goal, whatever you're doing in life, just keep going, don't stop, man. And until the next episode, we're gonna catch you guys. All right, peace.
Stage clear.